Yeah, it was a really exciting weekend for App State wrestling this past weekend. Obviously, being able to secure another conference championship, win the tournament was a big deal, but to be able to do it at home in front of a lot of our fans and our alumni was also very special. And, I think it's one of the best tournament performances that we've had in a really long time. I read somewhere that it was the largest margin of victory over the second place team in 10 years. We scored over 100 points, punched 8 through to the finals, had all 10 guys place, top 4 in their weight class. Came away with 3 champs, but now we're going to have, we're taking 6 guys to Tulsa. So been a really good weekend. We also had an alumni and fan social on Friday night before the tournament. Got to see a lot of those old timers, and it was just a great week for Appalachian State wrestling.
Coach Bentley, talk about some of the highlights from that Saturday, because you guys scored over 100 points, which was, none of the other people who placed in the tournament scored over 100. So there's a lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah, I think, obviously you want to highlight our 3 champs, that won their weight class. We had 8 in the finals, but we had 3 champions. Caleb Smith, kind of wrestled a really solid tournament, got his first Southern Conference championship at 125. He's been in the NCAA tournament before, so he won't be any stranger in Tulsa. John Milder, especially for him, he won his 4th Southern Conference championship, which I think that's just unbelievable. I don't even know how many 4-time Southern Conference champions there are, if there ever has been one. But, I think that in itself is very special. And then Tommy Askey, first year in our lineup as a starter, ends up winning the championship at 157. So those guys were, obviously monumental in scoring 100 points, having those champs. But, I think the big thing was we had a really good quarterfinal round. We won all 10 matches in the quarterfinal round. And then followed that up with going 8-2 in the semifinals to punch 8 through to the finals. And pretty much at that point we opened up a 36-point lead, I think, after the semifinals, and from there, we were off to the races. And I was really proud of our guys for just being consistent all day. But a lot of things to be thankful for. Had a lot of guys wrestle really well, and I'm just proud of our team's effort and performance on Saturday.
With all the work that you guys have put in this season and with the results of the SoCon Championships, are there any things that you would want to see done differently during the NCAA Championships coming up next weekend?
No, I think up to this point, I think we've had, about as good of a season as I think we could have hoped for. Obviously, I'd probably like to have taken maybe 1 or 2 more guys to the national tournament. I felt like we had, 7 to 8 guys that had a really good shot. We ended up going to take 6. But now it's just about getting our individuals ready to go and performing out in Tulsa. And I think this crew that we're taking this year, every single guy that we're taking out there can win matches, and we can have multiple All-Americans. And I think that's the ultimate goal. That's what we train for. That's everything we do all season long is geared toward March. And I think our guys are in a good spot mentally, healthy, and so I'm excited to kind of see these guys perform out in Tulsa and let all that hard work and the strength of schedule we've had pay off.
Who all would you say is most responsible for the team's high level of success over the course of the last few seasons for this team? The coaching staff itself, the recruiting staff, upperclassmen, underclassmen?
Well, I think, there's a lot of people. I don't think you have the kind of success we've had this year and just be able to accredit to one person. Obviously we've got a great fan and donor base, which makes us, kind of sets us apart from a lot of programs. We've got a tremendous culture. I think if I had to pick one thing that I think has contributed to our success and sustained success over the last 3 or 4 years, it's been our team culture. And we've got a really group of close, tight-knit young men that they go out there and they battle for each other. They have a lot of pride in that Appalachian A, and they showcase their talents and represent this great university in a great way. I think our coaching staff is, I want to praise my assistant coaches. I've got great assistant coaches. I think, they deserve a lot of credit for, kind of how our guys performed this year. And, Jared Patterson, Randall Diabe and Ian Miller. I mean, those three assistant coaches do a phenomenal job. You look at Tommy Askey, for instance. I give Ian Miller a lot of credit for Tommy's growth and continued success. He's poured a lot of time and energy into Tommy, and I think Coach Miller deserves a lot of that credit for kind of where Tommy's at currently.
As we begin to wrap up this interview, I want to ask you some more personal questions before we leave here today, if that's all right. Talk about some of your experience as a star wrestler during your time in high school, as well as your time as a wrestler at UNC Chapel Hill.
Wrestling's a sport I fell in love with probably when I was in the 6th or 7th grade. We didn't really have a elementary program or a middle school program. I actually started training with the high school team. And, I've developed a lot of long-lasting friendships. Some of my best friends that I have today are people that I started wrestling with. And I just love the individuality of the sport of wrestling and how it was all, I depended on myself, a lot. And it taught you a lot about personal responsibility, goal setting, and working hard work. I mean, I think that's kind of the things that I would say I've taken from my experience as a competitor in the sport. But I will say it's just, being a competitor and focusing on yourself is a lot different than coaching and focusing on a team. I actually think that it was quite a bit easier as a competitor because I only had to focus on getting myself ready and making sure I was ready to go. And as a coach, you have so many different personalities you're trying to manage. You're trying to make sure everybody's firing on the same page, and you got a lot of guys that you want to see them reach their goals. And so it's an emotional roller coaster all the time when you're coaching. But I definitely think the things I would take away from my competitive experience were hard work and dedication, are things that you need to be successful in any organization.
And do you think that played the largest part into you eventually becoming the head coach for the men's wrestling team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, obviously I would like to think that I've always had a very strong work ethic. It kind of helped me get where I was as a competitor. And, I still pride myself on trying to outwork our competition as a coach as well.
Last question for you, Coach Bentley, as I know you've probably got to get back to helping the team prepare for the upcoming NCAA championships. Banking off of your time as a wrestler at Chapel Hill, I see that you have a strong record against that of Duke over the course of the past 9 seasons under your program, with huge wins against the university nearly every time you guys face them. Is there any particular story behind that, Coach Bentley?
No, I mean, we don't really have any specific, opponents that we're trying to, single out or anything like that. I mean, we have a really, we want to win every time we step out, and we do have some good natural rivalries in the state of North Carolina. Being a state institution, obviously, we want to be, the best wrestling school in North Carolina, and there's a lot of good wrestling schools in the ACC. So, every year we're going to wrestle State, Carolina, and Duke every year, and fortunately, we've had a lot of success.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, with the at-large bids being announced on Tuesday, I guess I'll start off with Will getting one of those and just your reaction to seeing him get in. And I don't know if you've even had a chance to talk to him about his excitement.
Yeah, I saw him in the gym yesterday, like maybe 5 minutes after the at-large bids were released. And you could just tell it was a big relief for him, knowing that, he's going to have an opportunity to compete in Tulsa. And for me as well. I've been really nervous and anxious about those at-large bids. Ever since Saturday night when he lost, it kind of crushed me when he took that loss in the finals. And I think you have so much invested in your athletes that when they hurt, you hurt. And Will's very special to me. He's a great young man, and he's definitely deserving to be in Tulsa. But when you leave it in the committee's hands, sometimes it makes you a little nervous. And so, I spoke to him just briefly. I could tell he was extremely, overcome with joy. And for me, it was just kind of, a relief and rewarding to see someone that has put in a lot of hard work and dedication and meant a lot to this program get an opportunity to compete in the national championship in his last year here at App State.
I know App State's had some alternates in past years. I know it's uncertain now exactly what that'll look like. Can you explain a little bit Ethan Oakley's situation of where he stands and what it'll be like for him preparing and traveling with you guys to Tulsa?
Yeah, so about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes after the at-large bids were released, I received an email from the NCAA letting me know that Ethan Oakley would be the alternate at 133 pounds. And what that means is he'll go with us to Tulsa. He'll travel. He'll make weight. And if any of the athletes in the field, any of those 33 wrestlers pull out for injuries or miss weight on Thursday morning, then he'll be entered into the field. And so, he's preparing just the same and getting himself ready to go. And, there are rumors that potentially one of the wrestlers that received an at-large bid might have a pretty serious injury. So we're hopeful that there's a good chance that he'll end up being in the field in Tulsa.
Just last one for me, hosting the SoCons, it gives a chance to, meet some alumni back on campus and see some of those folks. What is that part like for you to get re-engage or just see some of those folks in a weekend like that?
Yeah, it's really it's a really great event. I mean, I love hosting the Southern Conference tournament for that very reason. We get a lot of our alumni back on campus. You can tell that their time they spend here on in Boone and on our campus here at Appalachian State meant a lot to them. And, it's balancing that with also the stress of getting your team ready to wrestle in the Southern Conference Championship. But we had a great event on Friday night, and actually one of our alumni who just funded or endowed a scholarship for us. He actually got up in front of the group and kind of talked about his time here and why he decided to endow the scholarship. And, it was a pretty moving story when he talked about, he might not have been at Appalachian State, might not have been a college graduate if it wasn't for the scholarship that he received here at Appalachian State. And so, hearing that, obviously was heartfelt, and, you can tell that it means a lot to a lot of our alumni, the opportunity they were given. And, I think that's one thing I would say to those out there listening. I think, if you're not a member of the Yosef Club, that's the biggest supporter of this athletics department as far as student athlete scholarships. And so, if you're not currently a donor to Appalachian State Yosef Club, please consider giving. But had a great weekend, enjoyed meeting seeing all those old timers, and obviously leaving with a tournament victory.
I guess one more question. Seeds will come out this evening. How much stock do you put in what that puts out, or how close of an eye do you keep on that? I mean,
obviously, I'll look at the brackets just for my own personal knowledge to kind of know if who our first round opponents are going to be. But the message doesn't change for our guys. No matter what our guys are seeded, you can't look at that whole bracket and start focusing on how many good guys are in the weight or anything like that. You just got to take it one match at a time. As I tell our guys in the locker room earlier this week, I mean, there's going to be a lot of good guys in your weight class, but you don't have to beat them all. You're going to get some help from other wrestlers, and a lot of times, this time of year is not necessarily about the best wrestler always being the guy that comes out on top. It's the guy that stays focused, stays grounded, and doesn't get too far ahead of himself. Doesn't waste any energy or emotion on things that they can't control. And so that's going to be the message to our guys. We'll make sure that they're ready, prepared to compete, and be their best in Tulsa. That's all we can control is how we wrestle.